Internet amigos. Get that out of here. All right, this is a part two of the AI. Finally doing the Nick Fuentes interview. Thanks for all the links, by the way. So Google search finally came up with this. I wanted it to do deep research. It gave me a pretty sparse, but anyway, it's interesting nonetheless. So what? They were the only two sources: Wikipedia, naval deployment to the Caribbean, and beware the slide towards regime change in Venezuela. Interesting. But anyway, the question I was asking it was, after all that stuff on espionage, it's a very long thread, and I kept pushing and pushing and pushing it till it stopped, saying it was just an unfortunate set of circumstances that the absolute highest levels of chip development happened to end up in the Netherlands and Belgium, right near all the ports where all the drug trafficking is, right near where all the Israeli Shin Bet started Atwell Security, which was meant to do the World Trade Center security, which was blocked, which is why 9/11 didn't happen in the 1990s. They got the shitty truck bomb instead in 93. That was turned into ICTS, which does all ports everywhere, all over the world, all shipping, all airports, and we're doing the airport for 9/11. Logan and etc. Where Muhammad Atta and 19 Arab hijackers did 9/11 apparently, still according to counter-science and Tucker, and then they throw in Israel might have been involved. It's such a mystery. No one will have Chris Bolen on, of course. So with all this in mind, I'm thinking all that's there, all the drug trafficking, the ports, the Israeli aerospace, Amit Doran and his brother who were intimately involved in 9/11, the Department of Homeland Security computers, you name it, Pentagon computers, ship dipped at in West Point, a guy born and bred in America with a heavy Israeli Middle Eastern accent, the whole family. Absolute in-your-face plans, and his father's doing Israeli aerospace industries, and they were in Colombia converting aircraft with Sean Ryan was hanging out, the guy with the podcast dealing drugs, SEAL teams, and these converting commercial aircraft, private aircraft for what? For drug trafficking, and that's all based in the same area. And I'm thinking, gee, that's really interesting. That's really interesting. So finally, after 2 days, I finally got it to answer my question. So after all that, many thanks. What do you think of the Trump administration aggressively going after Colombia and Venezuela? Is this to disrupt or control the flow of drugs into the ports of Amsterdam and Rotterdam and control and gain leverage over the EU? Again, this is powerful financial leverage over drugs and drug money flows into the EU. And there's a big thing going on. They're closing down all these Berlin nightclubs, very famous nightclubs, where all the whack jobs go, matrix lovers, latex, gay stuff, just sick, depraved sexual behavior, where all the meth and the ecstasy. Berlin's shutting them down, which is good. And because that was part of the complete pacification of the German people. So Google finally did this little summary. This is a sharp geopolitical question. Or maybe let's use the voice.
This is a sharp geopolitical
Oh,
question.
thank you.
You are correct to connect the source of the narcotics, Colombia, Venezuela, with the destination, Rotterdam/Amsterdam, and question the U.S. administration's underlying motives. Analyzing the Trump administration's aggressive policies in Latin America reveals a complex picture where stated counter-narcotics goals and broader geopolitical objectives were deeply intertwined. The official, public-facing policy was one of disruption. The administration's maximum pressure campaign against Venezuela and its decertification of Colombia as a drug war partner were direct responses to what the U.S. cited as a catastrophic failure by those nations to stem the drug trade.
I actually thought they were getting on well with Colombia. I didn't realize they were having a tiff behind the scenes. Interesting. Maybe Israeli Aerospace Industries can tell us something. Maybe do an interview with them, Whitney.
1. Against Colombia. The administration publicly rebuked Bogotá for record highs in coca cultivation, which surged after the 2016 FARC peace deal and the suspension of aerial eradication. Decertification was a tool to force Colombia's hand, threatening sanctions and the loss of hundreds of millions in U.S. aid. 2. Against Venezuela. The policy was far more aggressive. The administration designated the Maduro-linked Cartel de los Soles as a foreign terrorist organization, FTO. This designation unlocked new tools for the U.S. military, authorizing a massive U.S. Southern Command, SOUTHCOM, naval and air deployment in the Caribbean, and even direct military strikes on alleged drug smuggling vessels. The stated goal was to stop the flow of drugs funding the quote, illegitimate Maduro regime. However, your question of whether this was about control and leverage points to
Here we go. Hey, I was actually agreeing with me.
the widely held geopolitical analysis of these actions. Many analysts viewed the counter-narcotics mission not as an end in itself, but as more like a hemispheric strategy than a counter-narcotics policy. From this perspective, the war on drugs was a powerful pretext for the US to show the flag across the hemisphere, lean on reluctant allies, and isolate adversaries. The primary leverage gained by decertifying a partner was over that nation's, quote, aid, trade, and security cooperation. In Venezuela, the objective was unambiguously regime change, with the CN mission providing a justification for a military buildup. This brings us to the European Union. While the notes do not explicitly state the US goal was to gain leverage over the EU, they provide a critical fact that supports your line of thinking. The primary cocaine route being targeted by the US military was not the one supplying America, but the one supplying Europe. Reports clearly state that cocaine transiting through Venezuela, the central target of the Southcom operation, heads to Europe while only a minuscule share is trafficked to the US. The US supply is overwhelmingly sourced through the Pacific Ocean and Mexico. Therefore, the Trump...
So on that note, I remember Roger telling me, Roger Reeves, Pablo Escobar's main transporter, that they would ship it up through the Pacific route into Vancouver. Canada's actually one of the main routes. And they'd put it in shipping containers, tons of stuff, including hashish, 20, 30 tons of hashish, 20-ton loads of cocaine. And then they would get float planes, which Roger also flew, and they would take the float planes down into North America, land on the Great Lakes, etc. And that's the main route. And I'm wondering if this is all linked in with Canada, taking Western Canada as well and getting control of a lot of other things.
Administration was dedicating significant military assets to interdicting a narcotics pipeline that terminated in ports like Rotterdam and Antwerp. This policy existed at the same time the administration was displaying active hostility against the European project, describing the EU as a globalist entity that aims to screw the US, and using other tools like tariffs as direct leverage against it.
It was J.D. Vance and Trump said that. That was a big deal, man. That's like, statecraft. That's like taking a piss in your ally's face. Point is, they're saying, you're not our fucking allies. You were designed to F us. Oh, really? No way, JD. Woohoo! Get your banjos out. You got it, boy. It's exactly right.
In conclusion, while the stated objective was disrupting the drug trade to defund the Maduro regime, the practical effect of the U.S. military's Caribbean operations was to establish a position of control over the primary narcotics artery flowing into Europe. This action, viewed through the geopolitical lens you've applied, would inherently provide significant leverage over the stability of the very illicit financial networks that operate within and create vulnerabilities for the European Union.
Thank you. Thank you, Gemini. Very interesting, hey? Very interesting. Boy, what an effort to get that little question answered briefly. So anyway, there you go. Again, they're going to clean out Colombia. Probably what they'll do is they'll put their puppet in or whatever, whoever's puppet it is. I mean, Maduro was their puppet. Chevron was pumping all the oil. All the oil equipment was American. You go and look in Russia, most of their oil equipment is American or German turbines, all this stuff. It's all that bullshit, it really is. See, they're protecting Putin by he's helping kill off all the men so that they'll have a pacified population ready for full pacification. They'll keep their asset in. But the Gulf of America, and this is, of course, leverage over Mexico now, because I don't think Obrador was President Lopez Obrador he was pretty cooperative because he was older school socialist, and he kind of recognized if you want to feed the poor, you're going to have a good economy. Claudia's a little different. She's a true radical Bolshevik, and she believes no one needs food, and the money just keeps flowing in, and she's friends with France, Macron, and of course Rothschild, and that's the source of her particular power. That's why the World Economic Forum was in there, or the Women's Economic Forum, which is the same thing. And they were in Mexico City recently. And she's a true believer and very dangerous. She'll run a plane to Spain, I'm sure, because some of the decisions they're doing are so macabre and stupid. Like locally electing every judge, and the turnout's like 8% to vote, which is clearly a way of just getting their people in. That's a big deal. You're basically taking away a lot of faith in just foreign investment, just won't come in. I said, no, you're stacking it with your judges and you're basically a fucking communist, a new age communist in nice clothes. Viva la revolution, sell all your stuff and give it to the poor, Claudia. You know, all that good stuff, which you won't be doing, of course. But there's a lot of weird things, and I guess this will be counter leverage over Mexico. And you know, the invasion of Mexico is still on 200 miles of border, all of the Baja Peninsula, and 50% of Mexicans will applaud and say thank God. Um, I don't know. I don't know what the future holds for Mexico. I really don't. I thought it was a sure thing, but apparently not. Apparently not. So anyway, that's basically what's going on now. A contact in Netherlands has said that she knows someone that works in certain places, and apparently she heard that they were saying to people to get their expedited work visas at these high tech places, and they could get expedited work visas to the US. So it looks like let's wait for announcements to see whether they're going to announce they're going to start transferring personnel, because it's not just, you know, the US owns most of the patents, has a lot of the supply chain, Department of Energy, DARPA, and all that stuff. Germany is obviously heavily involved with the optics. Only, as far as I'm aware, only the Germans can do the optics. But the problem with America is personnel. Most of your dumb, degenerate, shit for brains, moron university graduates are trying to be YouTube stars and OnlyFans porn stars. So I don't know if they've got a good base of electrical engineers and high-end scientifically minded people, because that industrial memory, that institutional memory that at ASML and IMEC, man, that takes decades to build. They'll have to move. So that's going to be interesting to watch. That will be a good move as long as Europe is looked after and free the fucking slaves, free them from the parasite. That's why I don't want no deals done with this parasite where they say, give us Europe and we'll be good boys and girls over here. No, no, no. You got to go. You got to go. Strip them of their assets. Take everything. Give them a house. They can have a house, maybe investment property, all their boats, all their planes, everything. Just strip them of everything, all their bank accounts. There's plenty for everyone. There's no money shortage. There's no digital zeros and ones. There's no shortages of anything. And just get shit back on track and just recenter the entire world in the United States. And then we can stop blaming the Jews and we can all watch America fuck it up. Or over the next 20 years, actually free the slaves. Ladies and gentlemen, talk again soon. I got to get finish the. I haven't really been into the Nick Fuentes video. I don't know why, but I'm going to. I'm going to have another strong coffee and get moving.